A very good morning to all the listeners and viewers of Hello Kolkata podcast, Kolkata Calling podcast series. We've been doing this podcast for well over a year now. And like every Sunday, we have a very special guest with us today, who I'll be introducing shortly. Our guest today combines two different worlds, cutting edge tech innovation, along with impact at the grassroots and the social level. Today, it's our honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Raution Jaiswal. He's someone who has blended leadership at and global entrepreneurship with grassroots impact. He's from Kolkata, but his impact is global. From Kolkata to Texas, he has built InsuredMine, which is one of the leading CRMs for insurance agents. It's an InsurTech platform, and it's making great waves all over the world. Before becoming entrepreneur, he's held key roles in companies such as CBRE, Gulfspan Industrial, and Prodap. And for academic background, much closer home, he is an MCFA, Master of Commerce in Finance and Accounting from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, University of Calcutta, and an MBA from Willamette University. Beyond that, he also leads the India InsurTech Festival, driving innovation in the sector, and we'll ask more about the India InsurTech Festival. And more importantly, when I talked about grassroots level impact, social impact, as the president of Sudama Devi Bhagwan Jaiswal Foundation, he's championing education, healthcare, and community development in his home city, Kolkata, and that makes us immensely proud. He is a true example of using technology not just to grow businesses, but also to change lives. With that introduction, let me invite Raution onto the main stage. Raution, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Hello Kolkata.
Thank you. Thank you, Subit, for inviting me to your podcast. And this is a pleasure and honor to be here.
Wonderful. And I know there's so much in your profile and your journey. I know we've budgeted 1 hour. We'll see how we do on time. But Raution, for the benefit of our audience and viewers and listeners, before we get into InsuredMine and your entrepreneurial venture, and then we talk about the InsurTech Festival, and then obviously I know something that is very, very close to your heart, the Sudama Devi Bhagwan Jaiswal Foundation. Before we get into all of that, taking you a little back in the past, your early days, we were just discussing before we started recording, you spent a significant amount of your growing up years in Kolkata, and it's still very close to your heart. You are in Kolkata. Take us through a little bit about your early days, your background, growing up. What was Kolkata like for you? Some memories that you can share with us.
Oh, well, there's a lot of those. I think today what I am, it all starts with that first 25 germane years of my life. Those were the foundation years. Those were the years where all my foundational skills have developed. I think knowledge we can acquire through different sources, but these skills that you hone with through good parenting, through your community, with families, with friends around, with your neighborhood, with your culture around the pujas and all the things, I think those define who we are. And if we can do enough to just preserve that, I think that is what makes us who we are. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm very proud of. So
Yeah.
starting with, the first few years, I grew up, and I'm not shy or hesitant at all to talk about my humble beginnings. I grew up in a so-called slum, with the shades, and my five of us, two sisters and my parents. We grew up in a house, a flat, or you wanna call a room of 90 square feet.
Wow.
And it's tough to imagine a 90 square feet, and I almost lived there for literally my first 25 years. So, and there were days where I would have to step out of that house under the street light to get my lessons done,
Wow.
because there was a guest at the house, and there were things that needed to be done, or you cannot just kick out a guest is there because you have exam. You are
Yeah.
accommodating, you have to take care of everything, and I would be the one who will have to step out and get those lessons done or the homeworks completed. So that taught me a lot. Those things are not that I see as a shame or a struggle or a challenge. I see that as an opportunity that built me who I am today. that that taught me that resilience, that taught me that, there is always a brighter side to a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up from those capacity building to then I from that, I think one of the biggest thing that I learned from that years of struggle is to see something positive in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I would have cried about every little thing that I was struggling with, I would
Yeah.
have died under the pressure and succumbed under the pressure of everything that was not happening for me. And that allowed me to look positive to things. And I was fortunate a couple of the moments in my life. And one such moment was I believe I was fairly intelligent, that I got good grades, though I was very naughty. The whole school would say that. Even my school principals and teachers, I was the backbencher. But fortunately, I did well in 10th grade that I got. So this was my moment one of being lucky, is I was able to get an admission at St. Xavier's.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I stepped into that college,
Yeah.
and I would say this is where history is written for me. Because the
Mm-hmm.
moment I stepped into that college, every guy I met, I felt that, these guys are just special. They are made out of something very unique, whether they are coming from an industry or family, the great honchos of Kolkata, or, some of these guys are state or national level players, or somebody is just who is who in Kolkata is in that college. And
Yeah.
if I am one of those guys, there must be something. That internal journey begins the moment
Mm-hmm.
I step in. And fortunately, that quest until today is continuing. I don't know if I found myself, but I started that journey. And that allowed me to just explore more. I was fortunate, got a lot of opportunity at St. Xavier's in those 5 formative years from 11, 12, first year, second year, and graduation. I spent a lot of time in that college campus, green benches, and all those notorious
Yeah.
places within the campus that you can think of or you might have heard about. But along with that, I did few things which again changed my perspective 360 degrees. One of those was working for one of the units called National Service Schemes,
Mm-hmm.
which is a social service for colleges. We built a school somewhere far off, like 25 kilometers away from Taliganj, beyond Kobodanga, Nepalganj. There is a village which,
Mm-hmm.
from the road, you have to walk 25 minutes to get to that village, which means that the village has no access to the road, no access to clean water, has no access to electricity, and of course, no access to education.
Wow.
And in that village, we built a school.
Mm-hmm.
20, and I'm talking about this is 2000, 25 years ago.
Wow.
And building that school was such an humbling experience for me. And at that early age, I was like 17, 16, 17. And when that school was built, it took us 3 years to build it. When that school was built, and one of those days when I go there and I see that school, I was stoned. Literally, the tears were pouring out of my eyes. And,
Yeah.
and there was just one thought running behind my head was, Raution, if at this age you can build this school, there is nothing in this world that you cannot get done. And that moment of confidence, that moment of, I would say, a revelation within, gave me that immense capacity and that power that, and since then I have not looked back. So, and I wanted to share this story because it is
This is beautiful.
so integral part of me, of what I have become because of that.
Yeah.
And that connects to that second chapter of my life with this foundation, which I'll talk in a
Yeah.
while. But then that's what graduation happened, and then I started working for Wipro, and then few other things, and then I took off to US, and that's a whole different story after that.
Yeah.
But imagine that growing in that house of 90 square feet, and then having that aspiration and dream to go and study in US and then conquer that world and come back. I think that is what makes us who we are today.
No, this is a beautiful story because I think, you know, the way you started talking about your very, very early days and obviously not treating it as a handicap, but sort of a baptism by fire. When you've
Yes,
gone through such, tough, periods in your life, obviously you are hungry to sort of go out there and prove your mettle. But what you shared with us about the experience of St. Xavier's, not just the academic side of it, not just finding like-minded, great, intelligent people around you, but also that uh, I would say aspect of social service, right? Social
absolutely.
service as a part of the curriculum, I think, came much later into schools. But I think Xavier's has always been at the forefront of giving back to the community. So I think
For
that's a
sure.
beautiful start to your journey. And once sort of you passed out of the gates of Xavier's, and I remember, I think, I don't know if it was Xavier's quote, because the quote was nihil ultra, nothing beyond.
It
Uh,
is.
yeah, but there was another quote that was given to us at that time. I think it said, uh, "Where you go depends on where you come from." Right.
Yes.
So Xavier's as an institution has changed so many lives, and some proud alums that I keep running across here and there have made great impact. Your story is one of those very special ones who makes us very, very proud. I was a little later. I passed out in 2010, but makes me immensely proud as a Xaverian to talk to you today.
Absolutely.
Once you started in the corporate world, like initial, obviously you start working uh, in the corporate world, you rise up the hierarchy, you switched organizations, you moved
Mm.
to US. Take us a little bit about that part of the journey where you were sort of rising up in the ranks, getting an understanding of multinational culture, corporate culture, a different culture as a country, and then we'll probably go into the spark that made you want to become an entrepreneur.
Yes. Oh man, that's it's as you say, you jump out of a plane without a parachute. That's entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
And you hope you will land somewhere without dying.
yeah.
But before we get there, see, there is a couple more things I want to talk about this experience at St. Xavier's
Hmm.
and this social work element. People think that, oh, it's just what you're gonna do, just wandering away your time and instead of go study for cat and mat and all of that.
Yeah.
But guys, when you are studying, that's great, do that. But end of the day, you want in any organization, the most cherished skill is leadership.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, by building the school, it took us 3 years. We also used to do 2 camps a year, which where we would take around 60 to 70 kids of our college guys would go to that village and stay there for a week or 10 days. And during that time, we would do various activities with the village guys. And so now I and one of my buddy was responsible for managing this crew. So imagine 670 guys times 10 days, 700 meals per and 2 to 3 meals. So you're talking about 2,000 to 2,500 meals that you are planning
Hmm.
and multiple times. So all of these planning, structuring, doing, leading, there was crisis, there is situations. This is leadership.
Yeah.
This is leading, learning by example of throwing yourself into something. And we were too young to even recognize that this is how these things are forming us. So, guys, do these kind of things to learn and absorb those real time situations that you would not even handle in any books. No leadership book can teach you what you are learning on the ground.
Hmm.
So, I encourage every guy to go through this kind of a program and learn and experience those things. So that was very important. And then once I graduated, I started working for Wipro. I felt like after a couple of years I was plateauing, and it was always at the back of my mind to to go abroad and study. But knowing the background I come from, 100,000 is a lot of money, and you're talking about 30 to 40 lakh rupees. It's just insurmountable amount of funds that you're looking at. But if you have desire, there is a plan out there. And that's exactly how it happened. I'll skip the details, but the idea was, I was able to get there. I would teach my classmates in US at night hours. so I can get some extra bucks. I would do some odd things here and there to make some extra bucks. I'll stretch long hours in my campus work. So, so I can continuously reduce my loan that I had at that point of time. So there were a lot of things that you do to not only survive, but, just to meet your ends meet. So all of that allowed me. Then graduation happens, and this is 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Worst time because there was a
Yeah.
bloodbath on the Wall Street.
Yeah.
Subprime lending was happening, and Lehman Brothers has just got bankrupted.
Yeah.
Companies were shutting down left, right, and center. Obama had issued that there will be no visa for foreign students for financial companies. So it was just, and I was fortunate. I got a job at Wall Street. I did a little bit of work. I quit that job.
Mm-hmm.
Now here is the one of the toughest decision I made at that time. I quit a job which was almost a six-figure job in dollars. I quit that to take an internship back in the US government. And it was $15 an hour, which would be like $30,000 a year. Because there was ethical dilemma that would have caused me not to do what I was supposed to do. So another lesson that I kind of lived myself was it's very important to live with your principles. Don't compromise on them, because later on they're going to come and haunt you, and there is no amount of money or no amount of any solace you can create to solve for that. And I am very proud of the decisions I took in my past, because that allowed me to be who I am today.
And I'll come in, Raution, here with a question. And obviously, very important to stress on the core values of ethics and integrity. But for somebody who's taken a huge loan and is still probably repaying that back, and here you have a job on the Wall Street, probably the most coveted job at that time for most Indians who are going abroad, and then to relinquish that opportunity and to take up a low-paying job, but something that gave you the moral satisfaction or was in line with your principle. How did you balance that conundrum? Like, it's a dilemma, like morals or
You
money,
bet.
right? That's
You bet.
always the thing. How did you make that tough choice given the situation you were in and also the background that you were coming in from?
No, you are absolutely right. And it was, and that's why I said I started that by saying that this was one of the toughest decisions I have. So there are a couple more coming on later on the tough decision part.
Sure.
So I tell you, one of the days I walk into the office of my vice president and I say, I want to quit. And that guy was just looking like, this guy is stoned today. And he's asking me, did you smoke something or what? I
Yeah.
said, no, I'm very, very much aware of what I'm saying. And I said, so what happened? I said, I am not having a good sleep these days. What I am doing, what I am seeing around me, and it's unfortunate. Again, I don't want to paint the entire industry, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who are working there. The office culture at that time, people are taking drugs in office and all of that, and then they are making those financial decisions which will impact teachers, homeowners, and all of those guys. You're taking their money and you're investing without having that moral, ethical basis, because you are not in the best of your mind frame.
So Wolf of Wall Street
And
was not entirely fiction, you would say.
that's what you would, no movie is a work of fiction. There's a lot of element of truth that people pull from here and there. But I'm not saying the entire industry is
Sure.
blackened that way, but there are pockets of things happening which should not happen. So unfortunately, so that's what, and then what the gentleman said, I don't want to name him, and he puts a hand on my back. He says, let's walk. He says, and we were in one of the high rise in Manhattan. We could see all three bridges from his skyrise window. And he says, Raution, I know you are talented. I know you would have one of these offices in next 5 to 7 years.
The corner office, famed corner office.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's so, and And I was flattered to hear that, but at the same time, I said, I don't think I can survive those 7 years.
Hmm.
I don't think I'll be alive those 7 years to be able to enjoy this. And he did his best to try to convince me, but um, this was a Thursday evening, and Saturday night, I took a flight back and I come back to Oregon, where I did my MBA and started a job. And that's a whole different story how I got that job, because a friend of mine failed to get that. So she had an internship. She goes to the job on day one. Because she has not paid her tax in the past, she does not get the job because this is Department of Tax. And she calls me to say that, Roshan, this is my unfortunate situation. And I am being a bit selfish at that moment. I say, hey, can I get that job? And she says, yes, I can put your name in. And she did that. And I had an interview with them. And the director at Department of Tax, she says, later on, she talks about this, that Roshan, though I interviewed you, I was dead sure you are not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Because who does that?
Yeah.
And this is Thursday, and then Monday morning I was right in that office to take that day one job. Then see, this is where another very important lesson is: don't don't be scared to take a step back, because most of the good leap will always need you to take a step back. And I took that step back, and it took me 18 months to take my salary from $15 to 90 or $100 an hour, because I knew my capacity, I knew my capabilities. So it was a momentary setback
Mm-hmm.
that I needed, but it allowed me to be who I am. And then it was not looking back. And then there were 6 departments I worked for government, almost 5 years. Department of Revenue I started with, which is tax. Then I worked for Department of Transportation. I worked for Department of Judge, which is judge, whatever. I don't even remember that. Then Department of Employment, which was my longest stint, I worked for, and then corrections a little bit. So these were 5 or 6 different departments, and Department of Administrative Services, which is like Purto Bhawan here, the governor's office, not the governor's, but their main advisory that everything operates from. So wonderful exposure of how a state machinery works through these different departments. And that's where I kind of took off. But after 6 years, there is that element of jadedness coming, because government
Mm-hmm.
being government, they move just so fast. And I'm not willing to slow down.
Yeah.
Took a leap. Then I went and joined a couple other private sector companies, ended up being at CBRE, which is the world's largest, biggest commercial real estate company.
Yeah.
There, I was part of a very big M&A work that we were doing, which was $1.4 billion acquisition, where I was pivotal to a 17,000 employee out of 16 different countries.
Wow.
Um, and so that was a big integration work that we pulled out of JCI Johnson Controls, that we did a carve out. Um, Great exposure, great experience. Traveled a lot, did a lot of good work. And but then by that end of that, I was starting to feel that same itch that, this is too much corporate, too much. There was something needed to be done differently,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when InsuredMine was born. Um, I started this, and again, another lesson for people who are listening and want to be a buddy entrepreneur. Um, I would advise, this is not the best advice, I would say, but my take is try to moonlight before you completely get off your
Mm-hmm.
socks and say, okay, I'm going to do it and quit everything. So I
Yeah.
moonlighted this for 18 months. When we had 16 employees, that's when I quit. And since then, we have grown that to almost 100 people between US, Bangalore, and Kolkata. And I'm very proud of what we have built. More than anything, what I've already all enjoyed here is Not that, hey, it creates fortune, it creates a good product, there's a lot of reputation and value in that. I also believe that, there is at least 10 to 15 guys who are on the top of that bracket have
Yeah.
done really well for themselves through this startup. Um, and that brings a lot of satisfaction to me that, you are not just influencing, you are transforming their life dramatically. So that has been quite a journey from government to Fortune 500 to startup, and then just that
Yeah.
continuation.
And I think, and this is unfolding like sort of the the middle act of a brilliant film, because I could visualize when you were talking about your ex boss at Wall Street putting his hand around your shoulder and saying, this could be yours. And we've seen that play out in movies so many times. And obviously, you're sharing the conundrum that an individual faces between choosing what the heart wants versus what the head wants.
Yeah.
But you chose what the heart wants. And then a fantastic career with the government in US, and then sort of back to corporate. And obviously, you mentioned that there was always an itch, right, that got you onto the next big leap for you. Very curious to understand here, Roshan, that obviously, when you want to sort of, feel that you could actually take the leap to go as an entrepreneur, start your own company, there has to be a problem that you want to solve, because otherwise, yeah, being an entrepreneur, being a founder is very cool, it's very glamorous, and they are celebrated, but there has to be a substance, a problem that their company, their service, their product is solving. So what made you choose this particular domain, InsurTech, making a CRM for insurance agents, as a very focused area where you wanted to build and scale? If you can take us through that.
Um, couple couple pointers I will make before I unfold this whole thing.
Sure.
One, as we all know, like one thing you might have learned by now is my story is always about, I do something which I don't expect to do, or I'm not
Sure.
expected to do.
Sure.
And so same thing, insurance, everything I've told you so far has not a single word of
Yeah.
insurance anywhere in this.
Yeah.
So when you talk to a tech company or any advisor, they say, oh, you should build a product of which you understand last 10 years
Mm-hmm.
or 20 years of experience and all of that. For me, it was never that case. My theory was if Elon Musk can learn about rocket and build a SpaceX, I can
Yeah.
learn insurance.
Sure.
So that was my motto to start with. But then the idea started with a personal problem.
Mm-hmm.
I was flying from Chicago to Dallas, where my home was between these business work, and I had to pay my insurance. And I felt like, hey, there is no good platform or an app that will allow me to consolidate all of this in one place and all of that. So there was just a basic problem. But I'll also tell you, this is not the first attempt at startup or a company for me. I have tried few things and they have failed. And so it's very important that guys don't bet everything on one idea, because there is no such idea
Mm-hmm.
that is guaranteed to win. So you will have to let an idea live its life. Some life is a day, some life is a month, and some life is 10 years or 20. So just work with it. So that's one thing is, you don't need to have a history, number one. Number two, don't just know that this is the idea that will work. Idea has its own life, let it live. Third thing is, it is said that, oh, you build something, people will come. Don't do that. Build with your client. So, and as LinkedIn CEO had once said that, if you're not embarrassed about the first iteration of your product, you have pushed to production too late. So put a dirty, unclean stuff out there, let people react to it. You will learn better.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a problem that I was trying to solve for me. I tried to gauge how big is this problem. How many people are willing? And then I started understanding how complicated is this. The problem was small. What was more important, was the plumbing that it needed with all the other system. The integration was a more complicated job than this creating an app or a system. So we started focusing on that integration aspect. Then we talked about to everybody or our client, our internal guys, and I'll tell you how I built a team. That's another very interesting story. But let me tell you about this product side of things. So when we started talking to the client, they said, so the whole story, how I say this is, they said, build me an eye. I built an eye. They said, add one more eye. I added one eye. They said, add two legs. I added two legs. They said, add
Mhm.
two more legs. I added two more legs. They said, this looks good. Add a tail. I added a tail. And then at one point of time, when I was looking at it, hey, this looks like a dog. Let's call it
Mhm.
a dog. And that's when the CRM was born. CRM was not born on day zero.
Mm.
We were solving bits and pieces of a business problem. And then when it was solved to a certain extent, that solution itself was more like a CRM solution rather than a solution that I envisioned on day zero. I'm going to build a CRM. I would not have got there.
Talking about, you identified bits and pieces of the problem, and then suddenly a complete solution seemed to emerge. At that point of time, how important was it to have those early customers? When you said that you build the first prototype with your customers, tell us a little about the experience of having those early customers putting their faith into you, giving you those critical feedback that sort of shaped InsurTech along the journey.
Absolutely, and I think that is one of the most important thing in a startup is you don't build a product in ivory towers behind glass doors. You build product on the street with the customers, and this is also the similar situation. In fact, my first customer became one of my employees later on.
Wow. Okay.
Um, he went and sold that product. But while he was the customer, I remember he used to give me time. So my team was in Bangalore. I would work with them almost, till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And then this guy said, oh, I am only available to you for just extra discussions on Sunday before I go to church, which would be at 6:30 to 9:30. I said, I'll take it. I'll
Mm-hmm.
sleep for 2 hours. I'll come. I'll come and meet you, and so we can have those discussions. And those went on for several weeks. And those were just powerful conversations that helped us on early days. I still have our number two customers, I think number six customers, seven and nine. So though we have 1,500 to 2,000 customers, but I still have those early days, 7 years ago customers who still boast about that. Hey, I helped you build this feature. I helped you build this feature. And hey, I got you this. And so they are proud of that fact that,
Yeah.
there is a signature of them on this
Yeah.
product.
They have a kind of co-ownership
Oh,
on
exactly.
building the product. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And they would use that to twist my arm
yeah,
on price negotiations,
sure.
and which I gladly do that.
And now that InsurTech is a complete CRM solution, you can manage so many different things on the platform. And I was going through the InsuredMine website, where you are also doing KRA management, goal management, task management. It's like a full suite solution for insurance agent. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about how it solves the problems that insurance agents have been facing, and how InsuredMine is the panacea for that.
Mhm. So first of all, let me be just clarify this that InsuredMine CRM is only designed for insurance, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, it is only designed for, so far, we are only catering to one market, which is US market. We are not
Hmm.
selling in India. We are not selling in any other countries. So this is 100% catered to US, number one.
Sure.
So now the point is, what are we building? Like we initial phase of the build was around, let's build something that will help customer manage, agencies manage their customer. So customer database, a fancy word for CRM is customer database. Now you have all the customer content about their name, their policies, their details, demographics, and all of that. Then we started building, okay, how do you engage with them? What are the different ways of communicating? You are communicating with them through email, through text message, through voicemail, through calling, through postcard, or anything else. Social media, all of this outreach was built to engage with them. In fact, so very few people know, and I'm embarrassed to say this sometimes because I've not finished it. I started writing a book on this, on insurance journey about customers, and I've not finished it. And Surya has been poking me every second day on that. Roshan, go ahead, and because he has written a couple of those.
Yeah.
So the journey, and I want to talk about that a little bit because I built this whole journey from lead capture, how an agency is capturing a lead, then they are nurturing that lead. So that's a 7-stage process, and we built that 7-stage into 7 different verticals and built all the solutions around it. From lead capture to lead nurture to getting a customer on, selling them, through pipeline, how they're moving. Then once they have been sold, what do you do to onboard a customer? Then what are you doing at the renewal? What are you doing at the win backs? What are you doing to service these guys? So all of these are 7 stages. In each stage, there are different connection points that you build. Now we have not only built these tasks, calendars, communications. Now we are moving into generative AI to predictive AI. Which customers will renew and what is the probability of their renewal? If you are sending communications, how are you using generative AI to send those communications? Where you say, just write a line, write in ChatGPT as we do. Hey, I emailed to a customers who have not responded in last 60 days. Boom, here's a whole email drafted. You're just sending. So now we're taking it to the next level of AI introductions where we are enriching the data. We are using some AI voice calling capability where AI is calling not as an email but as a voice to these customers saying, hey, I have your number, but I don't have your email address. Can you give me? And they will have a conversation with the guy. Even after the conversation, once they get that email, they will bring that information, put it in the database. So nobody's touching it, but it is saving a lot of time for the agencies. Hey, if an agency has 1 million record to be updated, every minute counts. So this is how we are adding value and what agencies are enjoying.
And I'm assuming this is somewhere going into this whole, the current euphoria around agentic AI that
Yes.
you are building into the workflow where independently the AI can guide customers along the workflow, fill in wherever the data is missing, give the complete picture to the agents that, this is what the customer profile looks like. And this is very exciting. Very curious to understand, obviously, building a product is not cheap. Hiring a team is not cheap. Operating out of US, Bangalore, Kolkata is not very cheap. How did you manage to do all of this while still continuing to bootstrap? And were there temptations along the way to go for a funding round, a Series A or a Series B? How did you manage that temptation when you were dealing with building a product which requires a lot of resources?
You're absolutely right. None of these has been an easier choice or decision that we had to make, but we were very clear always about what we want and what we don't want. And it's not that I don't want money. Of course, everybody wants money. But I don't want that pressure to create just more money out of that money that we take and then deviate from the value that we are looking to create. Sure. So that is very important. And then second aspect of that was, I think we still have a lot of juice right now where we think we can control the destiny of this product and this industry of where it is heading. I don't think we need that kind of a financial support, at least today. Let me give you a couple more stories. One on how the team was built. So bootstrapping is not easy. Now, as I also said, I was moonlighting, which means I was working for the company, and then I was trying to build this at the night hours. I could not post this on LinkedIn that, hey, I need 4 developers, because
Yeah.
my company will immediately flag, hey, what the F are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. So I posted this on Facebook. Hey, I need, and so I thought one of my friends would come up and say, okay, hey, I can support you. I was fortunate. One of my known relatives, like distant of relative, he reached out to me. He says, um, Roshan, Ria, I had a team. We had a startup. The startup team came together, worked for a year, but it did not took off. So we all just went back, and we are working in different industry in different places. If you want, I can bring those guys on a call. It's your call to convince them. I say, I'm very
Mhm.
good at that. Just bring them on.
Yeah.
Um, so on that call, there were 6 of those guys who shows up. 4 of them agreed to work with us. And out of those 4, 2 still works. One is the CTO of the company. Uh, Now, so that's how those first 4 got hired, technically,
Mhm.
because, well, yes and no, because they were, and I'm saying this on record, they worked with us for almost 6 to 7 months for free. So, like I was moonlighting, they were moonlighting on the weekend. They said, okay, because I told them that, hey, there's no point putting a structure. I'll give you 5%, 10%. Hey, if the company does not take off, all this 10% of 0% is zero.
Yeah.
Let's work to build something meaningful, and then we can talk about all of this. And that's how we got to a place where in 6 months we were ready for, okay, now we got our first investment through an accelerator. They paid us $50,000. Now these guys said, hey, I think I have enough money where I can sustain a year and a half for you guys. Quit your job, join us. So one guy from Infosys, another from a couple other startups, they all quit. They were put into 1 bedroom flat. First in Jaipur for a very small period, and then in Bangalore. And that was a great decision. These guys continued working from that bedroom for almost year and a half. So until we had, I think, 9 guys in that room, in that living room. That's how we were building. So they lived there, they worked there. So it was a 24/7. Just we were nonstop moving. Um, so another important thing is it's not just finding the right guy, it's how
Yeah.
do you continuously motivate them that they are delivering at the supreme level. And I think that's again an element of your leadership of how you mold a team to just see nothing but that
Mhm.
fish's eye.
Yeah, and I think
So
to get people to moonlight, to commit to work without pay requires a lot of power in the vision that you paint for them, the journey that
yeah,
you chart for them, and obviously you going along on that journey as well. Because obviously you are not taking anything from the company at that point of time. You are all
no,
putting your efforts into building something that you envision will one day become what InsuredMine is. If you had
yeah.
to sort of, I know InsuredMine is still on its way to greatness, more greatness, but if you had to sort of sum up this journey of building in InsurTech and having made that choice purely because you had a personal need to be solved and then you built that, what would you say to people who are on the verge of starting their entrepreneur journey? Obviously you've spoken about endurance, not banking everything on one idea, bringing the right people together. If you had to sum up this part of your life, which obviously has other chapters that we'll get into, what would those lessons be for young entrepreneurs about to take the plunge?
So first of all, people should know entrepreneurship is not for weak heart.
Yeah.
There are so many days of close encounters. You feel like, you may have a heart attack. It's your heart is pulping at that kind of a horse's pace, and it's insane amount of pressure on days, which is
Yeah.
just mind-boggling. So first of all, but I still admire a lot of people have that enthusiasm, that passion, that endurance to do it. So that's great. Come up and do it. But when you are doing it, it's not just all of this, but make sure it is well. So we talk about what are the three core principles of insured mind. And
Mm-hmm.
that aligns with that mindset. It's three I's:
Mm-hmm.
um, intelligence, integrity, and intensity. So, and I think that sums up what it takes. You cannot build something without having the right amount of intelligence of your capacity, intelligence of the research and the content and everything that you need to know. So when I said that I can learn insurance, it was not just in a lighter way that I said it. I really, really spent a lot of time learning a lot about insurance, and I can speak on insurance hours and hours better than many of my clients, because I go to their conferences where I speak. And so I can find my way through it, fake it once or twice, but not for this long if I
Yeah.
don't have that kind of an. So it's very important that intelligence is built or baked into whatever you want to do. Learn, spend time learning things. And then, you are a startup. A lot of people take startup as a job, that, okay, I'll start at 9 a.m. and I'll be done at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
That startup will not work. My first 3 to 4 years, all of these guys, we all worked literally 18 to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. There was no freaking vacations. There was nothing. My parents would come and visit me in US, and they say, okay, you know what? I'm not coming next time because you don't have time for me. Because they would see me. I'm just at my desk with my computers. They wake up, they see me. They go to bed, they see me that way. I'm glued to that chair and just working, because it was that passion of, failure is not an option. And whatever it takes, iterate, keep doing things, but it will take that amount of time. You cannot shortcut that time. You cannot have a 9 man-month baby, that is going to take that 40 weeks of pregnancy to deliver. So it's very important to think that, it will take that kind of an intensity. Um, and and intensity would also be, because you are being the David against the Goliath. There is already established things that you will be disrupting.
Yeah.
How can you imagine that millions and billions of dollars are being invested from them, and you can compete if you're not that nimble, you're not that fast? So those things happen. And then on top of it, don't build an organization where you are cutting corners, where you are trying to just cheat the system or do things in a bad way, because it's not going to be sustainable. So that
Mm-hmm.
integrity has to be a cornerstone of any organization. So those three I's define, what I would tell any other entrepreneur is, just have those three words and just look at it every day, because that will guide you.
This is definitely a masterclass. And taking that point forward, obviously you mentioned that you now are part of the insurance industry, like you are an expert now. You learn to be an expert. You build products. You service clients. You advise your clients. Uh, Tell us a little about your role, where you are now sort of expanding this into a community and ecosystem with the India InsurTech Festival. And you're the chairperson at the India InsurTech Festival last year. Uh, Tell us about what made you go into this, the Indian aspect of InsurTech, what's happening at the ground level through innovation, partnerships. Take us a little bit through that journey.
No, yes. I think I will talk a little bit broader, and then I'll come to Calcutta. I would say
Mm.
India itself, because of all the support work that it is doing for a lot of insurance companies, I don't think any top 20, top 30 insurance carrier, or any of these bigger companies which are supporting these carriers or insurance companies, um, do not have an offshore existence in India.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there is a lot of knowledge being gathered and being built in India because of that, whether it's on the application side, on the underwriting side, or communication and all of that. So those information and knowledge is now being used in India space.
Mm-hmm.
India is still a very, very, very far behind in terms of insurance. Like home insurance is still very far behind. Not all of our homes are insured.
Yeah.
I'm one of those victim and a beneficiary of home insurance in US because my house got in there was a fire in my house, and I'm fortunate I had insurance that it took care of so many things. Otherwise, so I believe those things needs to happen in India, but there is not, and it's a problem. The conundrum is both demand and supply. You
Mhm.
can't build just a product when there is not enough supply, and especially with a product like this, which needs a mass consumption because it is based on probability of that scale. So
Mhm.
it's very important that both demand and supply is created at the same time. So I think the technology is continuously being built, but it is built primarily for the larger external foreign audience. Few things are being built in India now. There are good companies, Bima and others are doing some good work, but it is primarily at the distribution level. Product building on insurance needs to be way more upcoming. I think
Mhm.
that is going to happen in the next wave of 10 to 15 years. And then the third element of that is more management on the post event. I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding, limited understanding of what happens once a casualty happens or once a trigger of an insurance needs to happen. Anything we know about insurance is life insurance in India. Now, health insurance has started to pick up, but the property and casualty insurance is still far, far, far behind. The PNC is primarily on the commercial side, not on the personal side. So I think there is a lot of opportunity. So, guys, if you're listening, I think there is an opportunity. The only difference is can you time it right?
Mhm.
You may build it too early or you may wait for too late. So if you time it right, there is a huge opportunity in India.
And do you see the India InsurTech Festival as a way not just to educate the masses, but also to bring the demand and supply together under one roof? Do you see that as that kind of a platform?
So for now, the focus was primarily, where we had a lot of corporate engagement in this last couple of years of India InsurTech, which is primarily on what technology we are building, how we are serving that, and then a couple other players came in who are more on the distribution side. But I think we have to take this to the mass.
Mhm.
And I think we need to partner with IRDA or other government organization where this becomes a household conversation, which is still not there today. See, let's say, for example, if you have a car and
Yeah.
once and you have an car insurance and you became a beneficiary of the car insurance once, you will always make sure you pay your premium
Yeah.
because you have. And so same thing with the home insurance. I think there is enough people who needs to have become kind of a beneficiary. And then there's a classic statement about how do you reach scale. And this was from one of the previous CEOs of GE who said it happens slowly and then suddenly.
Mhm.
That scale thing. And I think in this case also, it is going to just penetrate slowly, but then suddenly it will become like, the whole UPI.
Yeah.
It happens slowly and then suddenly the whole jam thing. So I think there is an element of next thing is insurance, which is happening slowly. People are becoming aware, but it needs to just mass explode at some point of time.
Yeah. And obviously you've played a very key instrumental role as the chairperson of the festival. You sort of put yourself in these roles, or I mean, some people say leadership is thrust upon people, some actually seek those out. uh, how do you see your role evolve going into the future, now that you see there is this tremendous opportunity for the India InsurTech ecosystem?
Um, it's funny that we are talking about this because on my way to this podcast, I was on a call with one of my friend who you also know, a common friend is Surya, and we were just
Yeah.
talking. And one of the things is because you also have to take these events where there is a cluster of the right-minded people doing a lot of work in that space. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that's not Kolkata today. That's
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore, that's Bombay
Mm-hmm.
or Mumbai. So we were in fact talking about, hey, we should do our next festival most likely in Bangalore because of the kind of response we will get over there.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, my heart is always in Kolkata and I would like to do things here. I know it's a slow grind,
Yeah.
but I think it will get to the right place. It will take just a little bit more effort to get there.
Yeah, and I think that's a nice segue for us because I think we wanted to talk about something uh, in Kolkata, which is at the very core of your, I would say, existence, your giving back to the society and the city that has shaped to who you are today. Uh, and I know it's deeply personal for you as well, because we want to talk about your role in starting the Sudama Devi Bhagwan Jaiswal Foundation. And I know it's dedicated to very special people in your life. So I will let you start talking about it because I will mess up if I try to introduce it from my
No,
side
no.
because this is so close to your heart.
You've been a fantastic host so far, so I appreciate you leading the way and bringing those questions. So thank you. Um, so as I was mentioning earlier, my early 25 years of my life has been in Kolkata, where the formative things shaped me of who I am today. But then next 18 years was US, with 2 years at MBA and then years of, working at different places and then last 6 to 7 years at startup. Um, I'll tell you a lot of little stories out here. So one was I'm the only son with two sisters, and I like most of us, we are mama's boy. And I told my mom when I was leaving for US 18 years, 19 years ago, that I will come back to the city the day I have 1 crore rupees.
Mm-hmm.
And since probably the first 5, 7 years, she didn't say anything. And then for the last 10 years, once in a while, she would taunt me and say, "Ek crore ho gaya?" Like I'm waiting now, right?
Yeah.
And parents are starting to age.
Yeah.
And And we all know the answer to that one crore. But that life becomes so complicated. You get on a hamster wheel, and the
Mm-hmm.
only thing you do is you just run faster and faster on that wheel.
Yeah.
Life is not going anywhere. You're just accumulating a lot of things. Um, and so it became a very tough call at one point of time. Not a very tough call, but it was a very important call is, hey, I know I want to go back. So I'll also prefix that story by saying I am one of those rare guy who lived in US for 18 years, but never got my green card. Why? Because it was very clear in my head that if I get my green card, my citizenship, I will confuse myself. I'll send
Mm-hmm.
confusing signals to myself. Hey, I'm doing all of this because at the back of my mind, somewhere I believe that I'll stay in US. So
Yeah.
I don't want to do that and made sure that I keep it is not a question of if, it's a question of when. When will I go back? And so it was very clear. And I was just trying to figure out, hey, started with startup, I need to get it to a place. And then a couple of years ago, my dad had a head injury. And and then, he kind of health-wise took a back seat a little bit. Now he's with God's grace, he has recovered completely. But that became the moment
Mm-hmm.
that Roshan start thinking to wrap things up. Um, And then I came to Kolkata twice during November, December, 2 years in a row. And I stayed here in Kolkata for 3 months. I wanted to make sure my kids, my wife, I am all acclimatized to this longer stay. So the third time when we come, the kids are not asking why are we staying here for more than 3 weeks or 5 weeks. They are thinking that this is just a continuation, and then that kind of blended into it. Um, so that was one of those things, how you take that 1 crore decision to, hey, I want to do it, and then you plan it. I don't believe in that shock therapy, just plunge it and then figure it out. No, if you
Mhm.
want to do it well, and smoothen things out. Um, so that helped to move to Kolkata. And then once I moved back last year in May, which was after 18 years, and I joke about this. राम जी का वनवास 14 साल और मेरा वनवास 18, because कलयुग है.
Yeah.
So but everybody was happy about the fact that now COVID also taught us that you can operate organization from wherever in the world.
Yeah.
It's a stretch to work late night hours, but I think that is working well so far, and we've been able to manage this and grow at a sustainable pace. So that's a continuation of what's going on. And then got to a place early this year, or it was kind of last year end, that there was always that idea of giving back to society.
Hmm.
But I also wanted to make sure I create a infrastructure, because I'll tell you, everything that happened to me, there are a lot of places where I feel that I was lucky.
Hmm.
I
Sure.
was lucky to get admitted to St. Xavier's. I
Yeah.
was lucky to have that friend's call. I was lucky to, find these four guys. I was lucky in a lot of places. I believe if I create the right framework, I create the right infrastructure, I can create 50 to 100 Roshan who does not need to be lucky. They just need to be persistent and hardworking. So I'm trying to take that element of luck out of the structure so
Hmm.
they can be built. So that's what was the formation of this foundation of Sudama Devi. Actually, Sudama Devi is the name of my grandmother, and Bhagwan Jaiswal is my grandfather. My grandfather used to be, back in the days, we used to have a lot of resources. We would have hundreds of boats in river Ganges, and then rolling mills, and so he did a lot of community work back in the days. He built a temple, he started Durga Puja in one of the community areas. But then in last 50, 70 years, his glory, his name has all kind of um, gradually kind of bleed. And my goal is now to resurrect that, to bring that past name and glory of what he has done through my work. And one of the core of that is, hey, I have become what I have become. It's a blessing of Saraswati that I have enough Lakshmi. So I want to bring that kind of element of education among all. And one of the flagship projects that we did was Project Disha,
Yeah.
which is about, so we went to all the local schools, which are primarily the schools. It's interesting to say this, that a lot of the schools that we visited, that kids don't go to those schools to get education.
Yeah.
These kids go to these schools for midday meals.
Hmm.
So those reality of, you cannot tell them, hey, think big, think so big that you can be in US one day. It's beyond that imagination of their aspirations. But
Yeah.
my goal is to get that capacity of thinking in them. And so we did a event of 400 kids at Ramakrishna Mission, um, at their venue, and we brought in a lot of teachers and principals and several other thought leaders. The idea for class 10, 11, and 12, the idea is to start making them be conscious of what you want to be and how. Because most
Yeah,
of these kids have no idea why they are studying art, science, or freaking commerce. Understand the purpose of what you want to be, find different venues of that, and then go and pursue what you need to pursue. And I think this awareness, this conversation, this counseling, a lot of that is what we are trying to do through this program. This year, we reached out to almost 800. Next year, with God's grace and all of you guys supporting, probably we can make it 5,000.
definitely. And I think I was reading about Project Disha, and I think you are going at the grassroots, right? You're looking at the youth uh, in their most impressionable age, but also sections of society which are historically underserved. And I think you mentioned that obviously, food for them is the most critical thing, but what after that? What
Well,
happens
yeah,
when they come out of the school? And I think that's where your skills training, your career guidance, your mentorship programs that
yeah,
Project Disha is running, I think is having
yeah.
a very significant impact, and which obviously will continue to grow with God's grace. But beyond just education, you are also focusing through the foundation on healthcare access, uh, outreach camps, blood donation drives, community and cultural programs. Uh, Tell us a little bit about bringing those aspects into the foundation work as well.
So, so few of the things that we have done, as we were growing up, there was a lot of areas, we would have dol yatras,
Mm-hmm.
where there was a set of crew and they would have the drums and they would dole and they would just walk from one community to another. Those things have vanished. Now people have lived in apartments, they have their own little apartment thing. And so that cultural aspect of Holi is all gone.
Yeah.
So that renaissance that is what we brought in during Holi Shobha Yatra. So
Mm-hmm.
we had almost 400 plus people who walked with us, where we distributed sweets and gulal to the street kids, so that at least they would have a little bit of sweet and color in their life. And we walked around in the community. It was almost a 3 kilometers walk. But the idea was, and then people got so excited, Roshan, you got to do this next year.
Mm.
But getting this kind of a cultural activity where people feel connected, people feel, because now life has become so nuclear.
Yeah.
It's no more about a people sitting in a room, family sitting in a room, everybody's on their phone. So if you can find an opportunity to bring everybody outside on the road, walking, talking, singing, dancing, throwing colors, I think that was a win.
Mm.
Then things like, blood donation. We all know that's one chemical compound we have not been able to figure out. So if you are able to raise that awareness where you are able to get the community to contribute, I think the idea here is two-way passage. One is raise that awareness of, you guys, you want a lot of things from community. There is an element of responsibility that you need to give back to the community.
Yeah.
And then second is there is a lot coming. Be ready for those things, what is coming to you. So this is becoming that platform where that exchange needs to happen. And that's the whole idea of by doing all of these. I'm very excited about this year Durga Puja, because after 18 long years, I will be in city.
Wow.
Um, So I am just beyond thrilled, and looking forward to it. Also involved in a lot of puja committees around, and I want to contribute in a positive way, whatever way I can. And I think it's very important that wherever you live, you know, we should be able to communicate and engage and contribute in a way where your presence is felt.
Yeah.
So that's all these little things.
And just for our viewers and listeners, obviously, I'll just put the link here. But more importantly, for the foundation, uh, people can volunteer as a mentor for students. You can actually sponsor a student's learning journey. You can host a workshop. If you're from an institution, you can host a workshop, and you can obviously donate educational resources or technology for these young children, young students as well, to help the foundation spread the impact of their work beyond the city and overall in Bengal as well. Uh, Roshan, I know we've sort of gone beyond 1 hour, but your journey is very fascinating, and I know the foundation seems like a very personal decision to revive the name and the work that your grandfather and grandmother were a part of. But giving back to society is something that you mentioned, that we started the podcast with, like from a very early age, from your early days in Xavier's, from starting to build a school to all the way to the Sudama Devi Bhagwan Jaiswal Foundation. Giving back has been a continuous through line uh, in the world of business and profits and charts and graphs. Giving back often gets lost, and obviously you have a company to run. How do you balance that in your mind, that okay, this part of me is focused on growing this company, this part of me is for the community? How do you balance that dichotomy?
It's an interesting question, Zubid. I don't know if I have such a wonderful brain which can compartmentalize all of this.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll tell you, it's everything. It's a juxtaposition of a lot of things beyond
Mhm.
these, and and the value is that things I do on the social front gives me ideas and thoughts and energy that allows me to do better at my work. And definitely there is motivation at work, when we write a newer contract or something. Hey, there's more money, let's go and pour it on the other side. um, so I think it's a mix of both. You are more, one is motivating other and vice versa. So, but the biggest challenge is time,
Yeah.
which is the constraint always, all the time. And fortunately or unfortunately, I have kind of, well, I'll say, guys, don't you follow me on this thing, as sleep is overrated to me. And so I work a lot of hours, and that I think there is so much of energy and power to all the things that I do, that and I say this all the time, that reminds me of our past president, Abdul Kalam ji,
Hmm.
when he said, a dream is not what you see when you sleep. A dream is that does not let you sleep. And I
Hmm.
think here is what I have as a dream, is to build a society of where education, where healthcare, and a lot of people with a lot of aspiration are able to accomplish what they want in their life. And so that's the dream that we all are working for.
Beautiful. Roshan, I think this has been a fantastic podcast. Listening to you, for me personally, because I
Yeah.
think what started off with your journey from that 90 square feet house or flat in Kolkata to your gateway to education and exposure to the world through St. Xavier's, and then going from there to start your journey in the corporate, finding your way into US to do your masters, uh, starting work at the cusp of a global financial crisis, walking away from six figures. And I'm sorry, summarizing this so that I captured all of it in my head. Walking away from that six-figure Wall Street job to start something to do with the government, doing that, getting back into the corporate, taking the plunge after moonlighting, convincing people to join you along the way, build your own startup, building an ecosystem of the India InsurTech, and then coming back, deciding to come back to Kolkata after, as you said, 18 years of Vanvas, and then starting something so beautiful in the Sudama Devi Bhagwan Jaiswal Foundation, which is giving back to society. Uh, I mean, what else can I say? But Kolkata Calling is really, really lucky to have you on as a guest. And Kolkata, I think, as a city, is very, very lucky to have produced a son like you and to have you come back after so many years, not just building out of Kolkata now, you're spending sleepless hours continuing on your ambition, but you're also giving back to the society, to the community that shaped who you are today. So from my side, all I can say is a heart full of gratitude and welcome back to Kolkata. I think it goes with the Kolkata Callings message, where we want the people who have left at some point of time to feel that calling and come back. And you've come back with a purpose, you've come back with a mission. uh, I'll open the floor to you. I know you've hinted at Kolkata as an influence in your overall life and journey, and now that you're back, how do you look at Kolkata across this overall journey of 25 years? Like 25 years ago, 25 years now, how do you look at this journey? And how do you look at Kolkata? And what do you want to change? What do you want to preserve? Your take on Kolkata.
No, first of all, thank you, Sudhir, for inviting me, and thank you for summarizing this. I don't think even I can do such a better job than what you just did. So fantastic for just mind noting everything I said, So at least somebody was listening. I'm glad. No, thank you. So I'll tell you, when I was deciding to come back, there was a lot of conversations with friends and families, and people said that, hey, if you need to go back to India, go and settle in Bangalore.
Mhm.
Good weather, your company is there. There's a lot of reasons for me to be in Bangalore. And my answer was very equivocally clear that if I need to go back to India, it is Kolkata or I'm not going back. Because if I need to be in Bangalore, I can might as well be in Dallas.
Mhm.
So that was very clear in my head. So, and as we all say that, the unique value prop of Calcutta is, it thinks 100 years ahead and 100 years behind.
Mhm.
That's the uniqueness of it. It's good and bad. There is a lot of that dichotomy of, hey, good things are happening, but then there's a lot of things that we are continuously dragging with us. And I think it will take a lot of people like you and I and many others that we know, that conscious effort of putting together a lot of energy and focus on doing good things. Take out those nuances out of the ecosystem, the society, and do in a way which is way more powerful to add value. And I think things are happening in Calcutta, but still I think from the economy perspective, from it's again, it has always been that cultural capital, but I think even that thing has kind of softened up a little bit. So there is that need to bring that energy back. There is that need to bring that kick back to do things in a bigger, better, grander way. And I think once we are able to just get that motion, that momentum going, I think we would all be so happy about where we would see that. But again, nonetheless, we'll continue to just push through every day to make it a better place.
Yeah. Um, Roshan, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your life with us, with our listeners and viewers of Hello Kolkata. I think I take back a lot from this conversation, especially your practical lessons on leadership that you peppered throughout your story and your journey, and then obviously what it takes to build and scale a company, the three I's that you mentioned: the intelligence, the integrity, and the intensity, which you obviously continue to show in your whole being and your whole persona. And most of all, the empathy part, the community aspect, which I have a feeling when you left Kolkata, that was there. The community aspect of it was there. Probably in the US, life is very different. And when you came back to Kolkata, you started missing it because Kolkata had changed a lot in those 18 years. So, in your own words, this renaissance that you're trying to bring, the reawakening that you're trying to do through your work, through your social work, I think that is brilliant. And as I said earlier, we are very lucky to have you back in the city. Roshan, before we close our podcast, I know it's been longer than we had budgeted for, but it's been a really enthralling listen for me. Any closing words for either young Kolkatans, young entrepreneurs, or people who are just wanting to give back to society? Your final words.
Thank you. Though, couple quick things. One, I am new to town. A lot of water has flowed under the bridge,
Yeah.
Hara Bridge, as we say. So, guys, I am looking to connect with a lot of people of with a lot of mission. So if you have a vision, you have an idea, you have an something that you are itching to do, connect with me. So
Mhm.
on a broader scale, or whether it's a social cause or anything else. Second, for entrepreneurship, I'm always willing to help, support, give ideas, or engage with you. So if there is anything from a entrepreneurship perspective, feel free to connect. And then third, connect with us on this foundation. Anything we can do to have more people engage with us, that's always fantastic. So use this opportunity to connect with me. You can reach out to me at roshan@insuredmine.com. And thank you again, Kolkata Calling. Thank you, Subit, for having me on your podcast. This is one of the best thing I have done in recent past. So thank you.
No, those are really kind words for us. We are absolutely honored to have you on this podcast with us, and happy to spread the message. And definitely would love to connect with you after the podcast as well, Roshan. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and looking forward to you making an impact from Kolkata for the world, and continuing to inspire people that we can still bring out global citizens like you, who manage both ambition and empathy in the same stride. So thank you, Roshan. It's been
Thank you.
wonderful. With that, we'll close our podcast.